Renee Williams.
I'm Maurice Rodriguez.
Welcome to Achievers Only Network. We are so excited to bring to you today more training on our POS merchant processor strategic partnership with RT7 and Retail Guru. We have a very special guest today, Mr. Tony Camporelli. He's actually the owner, and I am just absolutely in awe of everything that he's done in his career with over 20 years experience in software and merchant processing, and I will let him go through all of that. Maurice, what do you think about this? It's going to be amazing, right?
I think we're going to have a fantastic training session, and I'm really excited to hear the explanation of training the owner of this fantastic event.
This is going to be pretty informal discussion we're going to have. So really open for, if you have questions, you can stop me along the way and just ask questions. So just kind of communicate your concerns or your issues as we move along. Just a bit of background. I started my first POS company in 1984. My family was in the retail business, and so they asked me way back, even before PCs were really around, to build them a little inventory control system so they could help run their 6 clothing stores they had in Toronto. So I took an old Radio Shack, Trash 80 they used to be called, even before DOS and Windows, and I built a little inventory control system, and I installed these in my parents' store. And you know how it was in a small community. This guy wanted it, he heard about it, so I started to build these machines and sell them to other retailers in the area. Next thing you know, I had about 60 stores, using this little application I built. And I said, oh, maybe there's a company here. I'm basically a high school dropout. Didn't take any sort of university courses or computer courses, so I'm completely self-taught in the programming where I started, right to running the business. So everything I learned really from doing it, not from being, taught it, and in an era where that technology was just beginning. So kind of, fast forward to 84, I incorporated the company. And from my parents' basement, basically, I grew the company to just over 250 employees and over 50 million in sales. We basically had a network of more than 50,000 lanes, most terminals installed in 7 countries, distributed through primarily our hardware partners, IBM, NCR, Toshiba. So between 1984 and 1996, when I finally sold the company to IBM for just over $30 million, we learned a lot about small business retail and POS. And at that point, payments wasn't really an issue. We were still doing, back in the beginning, call the authorization and the card, right? Many of you guys probably don't remember that, but that's how they used to process credit cards. Just to call a number, give them the card number over the phone, they gave you an authorization, you took the card, you made an imprint of it, and they signed this carbon copy receipt, basically. That's how it was done, really up to the mid-90s. Yeah, so that's kind of, so payments wasn't really a factor back in sort of the early days, and so we never really considered it a business model. Probably dropped the ball back then. We really should have paid attention to that, but the business was growing so fast just on convincing people to replace their old cash registers with a PC, and back then, I remember people saying to me, PC replaced a cash register computer on a counter at a retail store. Never happened, right? So fast forward to today, I guess, everybody, all the naysayers were wrong there. So when I sold the company in 1996, I was kind of under a non-compete for many years, and typical sort of sales structure. I consulted with them for a year, then I was on a non-compete for a couple of years. But really in 2002, I was basically free, and that's when I started RT7 Incorporated, with the idea to build a true internet-based or cloud-based retail management system. This is 13 years ago, right? So everybody's talking about the cloud today, and everything we do is in the cloud. And, from banking to, your apps on your phone, to everything's in the cloud. But back then it was like, same thing, cloud. What was that? So you couldn't even call it the cloud. You had to call it web-centric or web-enabled. Cloud was not a word that people even talked about. Even M-commerce or M-POS was just, just not, mobile was not even existent. So we decided to build this sort of retail management application that could operate in the cloud, right? So that we could sell it as a service, not as a model where you pay to buy the license for it. So basically pay monthly for it. What people are trying to do today, basically. So anyway, we were building this thing, and it was very difficult to build this technology. We couldn't get it to work. It took us almost 5 years till we got an actual working, prototype that we could put in the store that would work, within the internet framework. And we spent almost $8 million. So $8 million of that money that I earned already from, IBM was already gone in R&D. So, I was chewing away all of this income pretty quickly, but I had this vision, this idea that we could build a system that we could service tons, thousands of small retailers instantly, really, just basically allow them to access the technology from any web-enabled device. So anyway, that's like 2007 now. So we installed our first systems in 2007, and issues there. We had problems. Still had to, still couldn't get it to work efficiently. POS is mission critical. You know what that means, right? It means if you can't sell, the retailer's dead. If you can't process, if you can't take money, if you can't transact. So it's a mission critical application. The POS must work. Certainly when you integrate payments to it, you better be able to collect the money, right? There's no question about it. So if you have failure in the connection, the software's not working, you're basically dead, right? So we just couldn't get it to work. It took us another 2 years of work, and now we're in around 10 million invested to actually get a prototype that would work and that we felt comfortable with, that we could hit the mass market. So now we're at 2010.